Hi, my name is Helene Stapinski. I know nothing about microfinance, so thank you. I learned a lot. I'm an author and a freelance journalist. I've been freelancing for the Times for 20 years. I can't believe it. I just was thinking about it. How long's it been? And I did the math. And so I've written pretty much for every section of the paper. So I've also written 3 books. The first was called Five Finger Discount, A Crooked Family History, about all the criminals in my family in Jersey City, and also about the corruption in Jersey City. I don't know if anybody knows about Hudson County, but it's one of the most corrupt places in the country. Haig was from there. He was a big politician. Anyway, that was my first book. The second book was about playing drums in a rock band on the Lower East Side. And this is all nonfiction, by the way. And then the new book is coming out in May. It's called Murder in Matera, and it's kind of a prequel to the first book. It's about the first crime in my family that I know of. And it happened in 1872, and I went down to southern Italy for the past 10 years and researched it. And the book is coming out, and I'm not going to tell you what happened, but you're going to have to read it. Anyway, so I write a column for the Metropolitan section that comes out every 2 weeks, which is fortnightly, if you don't know that word. That's a vocabulary word for you. It's called Works in Progress, and I write about something that's happening in the city that's in progress. So it could be a building that's going up, it could be a TV show that's being written, it could be a song that's being written or performed, whatever. It's just something that's happening, that's not done yet, okay? And there was one in today. It's about a woman who's 80 years old, who's taking classes at Union Seminary up near Columbia, and she's trying to deal with the fact that she's one of the descendants of the slaves that were sold by Georgetown. So she's 80, and she is a work in progress. She's an amazing person. Anyway, so the story was about her. Anyway, so enough about me. So the classes that I'm going to teach are 2 classes. One will be a journalism class, and the other will be creative writing. Journalism, what I'm going to do is take a story that I've done and break it down for you. Not just the story itself, but where the idea came from, because everybody who writes stories has to come up with ideas, not just freelancers, although as freelancers, you have to really come up with ideas. How to pitch it to your editor to convince them that they should run this story. Where to pitch it. For the Times, you can pitch it to 20 different sections. You have to figure out exactly where to go. And then last but not least, how to write it. So we're going to break it down. We're going to deconstruct it. How to write the lead, how to write the nut graph. I don't know if you know what a nut graph is, but if you take my class, you'll find out. The lead quote, the rest of the quotes, the description, and the kicker. How do you write that story? How does it come together? It's basically building a house, so you're gathering your materials and then you're putting it together. So we're going to take a look at one of the stories I wrote. And I think, I'm still kind of working it out, but I think what we might look at is a story, one of the big stories I just wrote called, it was about Marilyn Monroe. It's kind of a long story. I don't want to go into the whole thing, but this guy who escaped Nazi Germany, came to America. He loved to take movies. And he's walking down the street, and he sees Marilyn Monroe on the subway grate when her skirt is blowing up. And so he takes a home movie of this, okay? The footage of Marilyn Monroe on the subway grate was lost, okay? The images that you see of her with her skirt blowing up were recreated in Hollywood on a sound stage, okay? So the night she was actually on the subway grate in Manhattan, that footage was lost. So this guy who took this footage had the only footage of Marilyn Monroe on the actual subway grate, right? 50 years later, his granddaughter, finds the footage and says, oh my God, Grandpa always told us about this. We didn't believe him. He's dead now. Here it is, So one thing leads to another. I meet her. She tells me the story, and I write a story about it. So it's not just about Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio, which is a whole other story, if you know, but about this guy basically escaping Nazi Germany, and their paths just crossing on this subway grate on 50th Street and Lexington Avenue, right? It's a great story, right? So what we're going to do for the class is take it apart, figure out how I wrote it. I had to research Marilyn Monroe. I had to read like 5 books about Marilyn Monroe, interview Bonnie, the granddaughter, and so wrote the story, and then Steven Spielberg decides he wants to make a movie about it. Because, of course, this is a perfect Steven Spielberg vehicle, It's got the Holocaust, but it's got Marilyn Monroe, It's anything he ever wanted, right? So anyway, so he talks with Bonnie a few weeks ago, and so he's going to do a movie. But anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the subway grate. Everybody's going to come to the subway grate. We're going to go there. We're going to go to the place where he lived. Bonnie's going to come and meet us, and she's going to tell us her story. And not just the story she told me, but the follow-up, which is this movie that's happening. They wanted to know Steven Spielberg says, who should play your grandfather? So the kids in the class who take this class are going to write the follow-up story using Bonnie's information and my stuff as background and anything else they can access. And so that's one of the journalism classes, one of a couple. And then creative writing is probably a little looser. I'm going to I think in my life, it seems the place where you're from sort of dictates who you are. And so we're going to visit some places in New York City that are featured in essays about New York City. And then what I want the kids in the class to do is write from their own experience, using place, where they grew up, their first Christmas, where they, whatever, So something that's in your own head and using place. So those are the parameters, basically, of the class. But I'm very open to kids, what they want to write about. And we've only got 2 days for each class, so it's pretty we got to get down and dirty and do it. So, and that's it. That's what I'm doing.